Assalamu alaikum. Tasneem, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. I'm okay, Sumaya. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good to see you again. So
Good
just
to
so
see you.
our community knows, this is in fact the second interview I'm having with Tasneem. Unfortunately, I was unable to publish the previous one because there was some concerns about the legal consequences of that interview since Tasneem's situation is not yet over. She's still in the thick of it. So we're trying this again. And Tasneem, please let us know who you are, something about you.
Okay, so I'm Tasneem Mughal. I'm a fitness trainer. I've been a trainer since 2014, and I've been in and out of the gym since I was 5 years old. I'm also a Muay Thai trainee and now a single mother of four.
Mhm. So, you've been through a lot. What are you willing to share about your divorce?
So just a little bit of a background about my marriage is that I was married for over 21 years. He was a revert. I was a reborn Muslim. Um, and we had four children along those 21 years of a journey. We moved to Malaysia in 2017. So, for those of you who might be thinking about moving to a Muslim country, I am going to talk to you about moving to a Muslim country as a Muslim woman. Um, so 2017, we moved to Malaysia. We were there for 5 years, and then we moved back. I moved back with the kids, Alhamdulillah, in 2022, July. So just a quick outline, just going back to the sister who might be moving to a Muslim country, which you have great intentions. Your intentions are hijrah. You're thinking, if I do this for the pleasure of Allah, if your foundation of marriage is a little bit rocky, I'm talking to you. So prior to moving in 2017, my marriage was very rocky. And something that I did that I feel was helpful is in front of a therapist, we agreed to emergency funding in case I needed to flee from Malaysia back to Canada. We agreed in front of a witness that he would give me a certain amount and then I would come back to Canada. The downfall of that, what I did as a mistake, and I'd like whoever it is that's moving to a Muslim country to really think about this, is what I should have done is gotten a notarized document with both of our signatures. Now, if your foundation of marriage is not solid AF and you're going to a Muslim country, please pray istikhara. Like first, pray istikhara. Check with Allah, see what Allah's saying. Is he guiding you in one direction more than another? That's the first thing that you should do. The second thing you should do is that document. Make sure that you have some sort of funding in case of an emergency. The third thing that I would say that Muslim women should know, even as a North American, a Westerner born and raised in Canada, if you go to a Muslim country and you're Muslim, you're not getting the, what's the word I'm looking for? The civil court treatment. You are going straight to Sharia court. There's no ifs and buts if you're a Westerner. You're going straight to Sharia court. And the fourth thing that I would tell you is know your Rabb, know Allah. That should have been rule number one. Like know Allah and understand that Allah would not want you to hurt yourself in any way, shape, or form.
What aspects of your marriage are you willing to share? What were the things that you found particularly challenging throughout that experience if you would like to focus on those few years that you were staying in Malaysia?
Because I was in Malaysia and I went through the divorce in Malaysia, those feelings of isolation that you feel, that's so valid, but it's also so needed because during that time of a divorce, it's a period of transformation. You cannot look at it in any other way. You can't look at it as if, this sucks, this is horrible. Just once you know your Rabb and you know that Allah wants the best for you, And Allah's only going to do what's best for you. Removing your husband, as hard as that is, it's such a blessing. I was dependent on him for 21 years. So it's a big chunk of my life was completely, fully financially dependent on him. And to have that removed from you, you can imagine like the turmoil that might cause inside. But when you align yourself to tawakkul, like having that trust in Allah, it's a whole different perspective. It's that perspective that will help you keep going. There was a point where I didn't have access to the kids' passport, so I had to actually leave Malaysia. But how was I supposed to do that without their passports? So I continued to push for it. I made email templates. Now, that's another thing for the sister who's going through a divorce right now. If there are a lot of people involved, or it's a big situation, a very tiresome situation, you need to make a template. There's no other way around it, because you don't want to keep repeating the same story over and over and over again. That will drain you itself. What you do want to do is you want to create an email template. That way you have something that you can fall back on, and write it as brief as possible, with as little words as possible, but as clear as you can. There are some words that amplify certain things more than others. So write an email template, make it brief, but make it precise. That's something that needs to be done. So that's something that I did do when I didn't have access to their passports, is I created a template and then I started collecting evidence. Now, there's a template that I created where I just put the date on one side along with the incident on the other side. You need to collect as much evidence as you can. Like, you really do. You need to upload it to Google Drive, and you might, for your own safety, send that out to 2 or 3 other people so that they have a copy of it. Especially if your husband is tech savvy. If he's tech savvy, and I'm talking like hacking tech savvy, you need to understand how technology works. Your Google, that has access to everything, including your Instagram, your social media accounts, along with your banking information, is connected to that Google Drive. Your Google account. That Google account is also connected a lot of the time to our location from the GPS settings. You need to stop using your Google account and create an entirely different Google account and start from scratch. Notify everyone. So for Sharia court, a lot of these laws, you might think that depending on each country. So Kuwait, for example, is a very conservative country. Malaysia is also conservative, but it's better than Kuwait. So in Malaysia, according to Sharia, and I've spoken to many sisters who are under the impression that men get the children after the age of like 6 or 7 years old. But in Malaysia, even in their Sharia court, they will try, even if the mother is this is what a lawyer told me, even if a mother is a prostitute, they will try to keep the child close to the mom. So if he's trying to take you to Sharia court, and he is because the Sharia is more of a patriarchal system, it's better, in my opinion, and I'm no one, but it's better to go to civil court if you can help it than Sharia court, because you'll have more rights in civil court than Sharia court as a woman. Okay. So sometimes women will hope you'll reach out to the Muslim brothers in your community. So this is for someone who doesn't have the privilege of having brothers or an active mahram, and you're trying to fight this battle and you're hoping that you'll turn to your imam. There are many circumstances where brothers will just take brother's side with no empathy, with no compassion. We know that Allah is the most kind. So just always keep that in mind, that when these imams or Muslim brothers in the community, don't take your side, or don't blatantly tell your ex that he's wrong. Don't feel bad, because understand that Allah is the most compassionate, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent as a mercy to mankind. And we know that he was himself so compassionate. So don't lose track just because these characters that are Muslim aren't blatantly telling your ex that he's wrong. Men these days aren't built like how they are back then. So their integrity has that backbone, that boldness that used to live is very rare in these times. Under those circumstances, there's nothing you can do. Like, you just have to hold strong onto, Allah, pray istikhara, and make sure that, because through istikhara, so people told me many times, like, you're only supposed to pray istikhara once, or they'll tell you you're supposed to pray for 7 days. That's the traditional way of praying istikhara. But I kept praying it. And like, I strongly believe without that istikhara, I would not have the strength to have left. That's one thing. So if you're going through divorce, you've written up your template, you started praying your istikhara for strength, because you are going to need that strength, especially if you're breaking a pattern that you're used to. And then you need to build your support system. So a lot of sisters, this is the part where they tend to stay in the situation, is because they don't have that support system. They just have themselves, or they're too scared. In my situation, I didn't want to tell my parents because I just felt bad. I just felt so bad, especially now your parents are older. So you don't want to hurt them at the end of their timeline. So I just held it in. I didn't want to tell them. I didn't want them to worry for me. At that time, you need to build your support system of at least 2 or 3 different people. And there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. Your mind, almost as if there's brain fog or scatterbrain. You need to build that support system so that those 2 or 3 people who are logical, not sisters who are just going to agree with you, but people who are logical, who you can turn to, who have solid advice, make them your bestie, and then turn to them every time that you have a problem, so that they can tell you the perspective that they're seeing without the scatterbrain and the scatter fog. Once you've done that, once you've created the email template, you've built your solid foundation. Educate yourself on your situation. Understand what the different struggles you might face are. That really helped me, is being able to understand what might come this way. And things were coming that I had no idea, but they were also confirming the theory that I had. So Allah will always open doors for you. At the same time, it's not that he wants to see you suffer, but you have to be willing to take a jump. And that's where Iman comes in. Iman, when you're going through a divorce, especially after a long period of time, it's almost as if you have a blindfold and you have to jump. You have to take that leap of faith that Allah's got you. Allah knows what's best for you. Those 2 or 3 people need to be religious people, because they are going to constantly remind you, it's okay, Taz, you got this. Allah's got you. Without that, you're gonna fall. There's a time period that a lot of women go through when they go through a divorce. They get paranoid. There's where they start thinking like, oh my God, he's watching me, he's stalking me, he's this, he's that. But that is actually, a lot of men do that. It's not just a paranoid thought. For some women it is, but it's better to be safe than sorry. In my situation, I was actually taking my phone calls in the bathroom for good reason. You need to be able to go into places that no one can, that is safe. My car wasn't safe. My house wasn't safe. The bathroom was safe. If you're in a situation where your ex is very tech savvy, has spyware, has gadgets, he knows his stuff, you need to be extra cautious. That means that you can't slip, because if they're going to that level, they're looking for anything they can. And you need to be a straight arrow. You cannot make bad choices. You need a lot on your side, number one. Number two, you're not giving him anything to use as ammunition in Sharia court or any type of other court. Again, if he's a tech person, try to get your technology checked. Wipe your phones, wipe your computers, and get it checked by a specialist. To the Muslim conservative woman who is so scared of feminism that you refuse to even look at abuse because you're very well aware that the word abuse, the terms abuse and narcissist get shot around everywhere, and you just want to stay as far away from feminism as possible because you're pretty conservative and that's how you've lived your life. Just look up abuse. Understand what the terminology is. Understand what category you lie in, and then start admitting that you lie there, because that can be a scary road itself. Just getting out of that bubble and thinking that you're heading towards feminism, but you're trying not to be a feminist. You're just trying to do what's right to you and right by God. And Allah would never want you to be in a bad situation. I have to emphasize on that, because Allah doesn't like hurt and pain and anger. Those are things that anger him. So why would we continue to put ourselves in that situation? So when you're in a situation and you don't have that privilege of going to your parents' house, that would be another reason why a lot of people stay, is because you just feel like you have nowhere to go. And women especially, we tend to be the people who nurture others and give to others, so we don't want to take from others. Society in general, as sisters, we need to be able to create to that community. And the only way to create a community is by having takers and having givers. There needs to be a balance. And sometimes humbling yourself to be a taker is okay. There's nothing wrong with being a taker. Sometimes we need to take. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to take loans, but he used to take. In that situation, so let's just say you didn't have the privilege of somewhere to go. You don't have the privilege of having the savings that many sisters are supposed to. If you're going through a divorce, you need to prepare financially. So when you're at that time, when you've admitted your situation to yourself first and foremost, and then now you've started reaching out to maybe one or two people. Obviously, I'm going to tell the Muslim woman to try to stay with the Muslim woman, because the Muslim woman will understand you more likely. You might have to, because you don't have that privilege of going to someone's house, you may have to go to the shelters. There are Muslim shelters. Now, I called one Muslim shelter. I had a child who was over the age of 12 years old, a boy that was over the age of 12 years old. And they were very cold. They were like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You have a boy that's over 12 years old. Click. No resources, no support whatsoever. And then I called the second Muslim shelter. And at that point, the representative there, she became my hero. I have these terms for the people that did help me along this road. And that sister was my hero. And she was like, okay, you can separate from your 12-year-old son. Here's your options. You can separate from your 12-year-old son. There's a shelter down the road, or and you come here with your other children, or you find somewhere else to go. And there's no way that I would have separated from my 12-year-old son, especially at a time like that. This is where that networking comes in. That support system that you've built, those people are your ride or die. Like, they are your die hard support right there. At that time, you need to start reaching out. That's where that template comes in. If you need it, And those people, your support system, will also start reaching out. Alhamdulillah, I had someone that was willing to not just take me in, but take me and my 4 kids in. And they took us with open arms for months. It was just 2 months, but it was 2 months. And that is not easy for people to do. So you need to build your network based on that. If you have no support, like how I did, you need to build your support.
Tasneem, from what I understand, you've had some financial struggles. Do you have any advice to women who might be in a similar situation?
Yeah, definitely. So for the sister who's completely financially dependent on your husband, if you're thinking about a divorce, number one, try to get in on the bank accounts, understand the systems. I was too late to that, but you can. Try to understand how much money there is. Try to write it down. Tell your diehard support what you saw. Consult them. Find out where the assets are. Are there assets? Where are the assets? How much assets? Get recordings. If you're going to have conversations with your ex or your husband about it, get recordings so you have something to go back to as proof. Do not leave any sort of assets. So when I moved to Malaysia, I left my assets with my in-laws, our marital assets. Do not leave them with your in-laws. I don't care how trustworthy they are. You cannot leave them with your in-laws. They are not your people. They are not your people. So if you find yourself that you're stuck, I want to leave, I have no support, you're started creating your network, you need to start stealing from your husband. And I checked with an alima on this. Like I asked her, this was years before I went for a divorce. I was like, he's giving me a hard time. It's very hard for me to save money. Like, what should I do? And she was like, and she relayed a whole Islamic story about a sahabiya. And basically it's okay to steal from your husband if he's not giving you your monthly income, he's very cheap, then you go ahead and steal and you start saving.
Right.
You're going to have to.
Add the disclaimer that this is when a wife is being deprived of her basic right. We're not talking about getting like a Louis Vuitton bag, but it's about if he is maintaining himself in a certain way, is she afforded the same?
Right, exactly.
After, was it 5 years, you did manage to leave Malaysia with your children and return to Canada. What did surrender mean to you in that situation, in getting out?
Okay. So this whole time, remember, I was praying istikhara and Allah was strengthening me, but all the doors were blocked and I still wasn't able to come back to Canada. And I just kept praying istikhara and I wouldn't give up on that. And finally, one of the people from my support system, she was like, what if, and this is why it's really important to hang around these people that are not just going to nod and say, yeah, you're right, but they give you feedback. So she's like, what if the istikhara that you're getting and you're still in this situation and you're stuck and you're stuck, you're hanging you're banging your head against the wall almost. What if Allah's trying to tell you to stay in Malaysia? What if it's best for you to stay in Malaysia? And at that point, it was like a light bulb. I was like, yeah, I never even thought of that. I honestly didn't. So then I started preparing. I was like, okay, I'm going to start my classes here and here. Where else can I start my classes? Okay, what courses can I take? Okay. And I started settling. I found a place to move into. And then, alhamdulillah, as soon as I did that, so I put an Instagram post. And on my post, it was, sometimes our test is just that of submission. Sometimes we just need to submit. And that was my entire story. And the next day, I got a message from Passport Canada that they granted me emergency travel based on all the evidence that I collected. And alhamdulillah, I was able. So sometimes that's all Allah wants to see, is that we just submit. And once we submit it, we've passed our test.
And then with regards to coming from a background, because you come from a very conservative Muslim traditional background, so it sounds as if you were a dependent for your whole life. Probably, I'm guessing prior to your marriage as well as during your marriage. And so what did that feel like getting yourself together financially and making yourself more resilient so that you had a stream of income coming in?
Okay, so for me, I started my classes in 2014. This is like less than a decade before the divorce. So I at least had something to fall back on. I had a great group of sisters. I had, like I had a privilege that some other people don't have. So based off of that, because during divorce, a lot of time, like I said, it was transformation. A lot of times people lose themselves in the transformation period and they just get depressed. So at that time, you have to just remember, I had 4 kids that are depending on me. You don't get that privilege of just lowering yourself down and going under the covers and hiding. You need to push. You need to push. You need that ball rolling forward, moving forward every single day. After this whole ordeal, when I came back to Canada, people were like, you just need to take a break. You need to just stop for 6 months to a year and just absorb what it is that you went through. Therapists were telling me that. And I was like, are you guys kidding me? Do you think I have a year? Like I have been fine. I have been completely dependent from the beginning of my marriage for 21 years. And then I had the fitness classes, but the fitness classes, you're working with the Muslim community. You're not trying to charge an arm and a leg. So from there, I just kept going and going and going. And alhamdulillah, like I can't say I'm fully financially independent. If I got child support, I'm sure it would definitely help me. But I could say I'm very content and where I am. Alhamdulillah, that I'm able to have built wherever it is that I am right now.
I'm curious to know, how did you push through? Because as most people who've been through a divorce know, whether they initiated or it was initiated by the spouse, it's a very challenging and traumatic, mind fogging experience. And to deal with your own emotions at the same time as taking care of these little kids, how did you do that? What was it like for you?
So I, alhamdulillah, have somewhere that I channel my emotion through, and that's Muay Thai. If I didn't have Muay Thai, I swear to God, this is what I say even now. Like Allah brought me to Malaysia just so I can start Muay Thai. Muay Thai has saved me through this whole process. If you don't have somewhere that you're channeling your anger through or your emotions through, because transformation requires that whole grief process. If you don't have something to channel that through, I don't even know how people do it. I honestly,
I can really see how you can use Muay Thai as a way to be an output for anger. Anger is a very strong and intense emotion, but grief is almost like a debilitating emotion. Like people often don't even breathe properly or fully when they are grief stricken. They can't really do much. They become almost immobilized. So I'm fascinated that did you find that you were able to use your martial arts as a way to handle your grief as well?
okay, so with martial arts, it's very humbling. I will be able to throw my jab fine today, but next week when I go in, my arm is slipping when I throw the jab. It's a very humbling experience. You can never think you're really good. I might be able to get hits in, but you can never think you're really good. So in that same context, because it's a very humbling experience, it helps with life. With life, life will humble you. Life is always humbling you. Has there been times where I didn't go to Muay Thai because of the grief is so strong? 100%, 100%. But am I someone that picks myself up? 1000%. There's no ifs and buts. No one has you like how you do. You have to be able to have you. If you don't have you, you cannot expect anyone else to have you. No one is going to do the work. It's up to you to do the work. Allah is looking at actions. He's not looking at words. He's looking at actions. Are you making the effort to get better? Because if you make the effort to get better, if I make the effort to get better, inshallah, I'll get better. That's in Allah's hands, but I am willing to put in the effort.
Did that channel of exercise, did that enable you to be more present with your children, to not be like an emotional mess in front of them? Because kids are
So
so They can
Yeah,
feel the parents' energy.
there's so many times, it's all about the kids. It's always been about the kids. Like I'm a big kid. Like I love being a big kid. I love childhood. I love giving my kids a good memory of their childhood so they want to be with me in their adult years. Like that's my ultimate goal. Muay Thai with Muay Thai, if I didn't have it, like I would be able to come back and again the endorphins are moving. If I didn't have that with the Muay Thai, you have the ability to grow every single session. Every single session, there's something that I'm focusing on. If I can grow, honestly, that's what it is that sisters need. They need to, throughout that transformation period, find something that you can grow in. So it's building your self-esteem all over again.
Tasneem, what have you learned from the experience you've had?
As traumatic, we see the Palestinians, okay? For example, you see the Palestinians and you see how strong their iman is, and you see how hard the test is. But their faith is so strong, it's unshakable in the face of this. In the same context, how big that trial period, that divorce period is for you, just understand you have the ability to use the same trial that you're going through as a power move for yourself and for your growth. They equal the test, the bigger the growth. The other thing that I would honestly tell sisters in a very turmoil situation is do not ruminate. Rumination, meaning that you're reliving the experience when you're telling it. Avoid rumination because it's paralyzing. You need that forward movement, and rumination does not help. Again, that's where like that template comes in, because you're not saying anything, you're just sending it out, and there's no emotional attachment to the situation.
Yes, they say that if you replay the story over and over again, your body experiences the trauma over and over and over again, then you can't move out of it.
So if you relive that trauma over and over and over again, then your body, it just relives it. And then you're not able to move forward. With the test that I went through, I honestly, I feel so honored to be the one that Allah chose, because there's so many women. They go to Muslim countries, you know, if they divorce, and they just go their separate ways and they live their life. But for me, the test was so big. And I'm just so grateful that Allah chose me out of all people to go through this, because now maybe I'll be able to help someone. And if I help one person, you know, we know the hadiths, like you help one Muslim, the reward is like 10 years of naql itikaf. I'm not sure if it's sahih or not, but yeah.
Yes, it sounds as if your situation was really pivotal in your life, and it's remarkable that you've become so resilient through that and learned so much. And it's inspiring that you are motivated to support and help other people. So, in closing, what advice would you give to a woman right now who perhaps might feel very trapped right now, or filled with despair? What advice would you give to such a person?
I would say that don't focus on what they're doing to you. Like if no matter how nice you are and they keep coming at you, Allah is looking at your integrity and your actions. Forget about all the outside noise. Just focus on you. Focus on, are you performing are you choosing the right choices so that you can keep going? Or are you letting that contaminate your choices?
Mhm. Thank you, Tasneem. Please go ahead and share your information, your social media handles.
Thank you. You guys can catch me at hijabi_trainer_Taz on Instagram.
And we will be reconnecting soon, inshallah, because I'd love to hear more from Tasneem about her fitness goals and inspiration and advice about how we can get moving and healthy, inshallah. I wish you and your children all the best. And I hope that your divorce process comes to closure in a way that it's just and good for everyone, inshallah.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Sumaya. I appreciate being a guest on your show.
Thank you. See you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.